Hey, WokeNFree Nation, Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice.
For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening.
You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, or even one of your favorite celebrities. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud.
And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, WokeNFree, is there too.
Now let's get into the episode. Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 268th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing that's off the table. This week, we're asking the question, is there a benefit to sleeping naked? Ha ha ha.
True.
Just wait for it. But before we dive into the episode, a couple of things to cover. First, have you gone to WokeNFree.com not only to listen to this episode, but to also download it through the Podbean app? If you haven't, then please do so. With the app, you're able to put in your comments. You can tell us if you believe there are benefits to sleeping naked, if you think this is just wildly absurd of a notion with less of practice, or anywhere in between where you sit. We want to hear all of it. So make sure you do that. If you listen to podcasts on a device where you cannot download another app like the Podbean app, then what you can do to still support us and the show, go to WokeNFree.com, go on the listen tab, and then you can click to follow and subscribe to the show on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, subscribe to our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. We're everywhere. It's a WokeNFree world. So lots of places to still support us if you don't get the app. On WokeNFree.com, you can also, at the top of the page, click to subscribe and follow the show. And on social, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokeNFree. And if you have 90 seconds, which is more of a statement, less of a question, go to WokeNFree.com, go on the listen tab, and pick your platform of choice where you'd like to review the show at. 5 stars. Thank you very much. And I'm going to kick it to you now.
Before we start the conversation, we should share a little bit about ourselves. This week we're asking, would you rather learn how to carve wood or forge swords?
So I actually am not a fan of splinters. I just remember getting a couple throughout the years as a child and being very upset and very furious, actually, why that happened. So as much as the
splinters or master splinter?
Splinters. I like the you're talking about the rat,
the
turtles. Yeah, no, he's cool.
Oh, okay.
But with forging sword, the only concern I have is I believe that would involve fire, because you're talking about metal or something like that. So, but I really, like I said, I have an issue with splinters, like getting that in your fingers and stuff like that. So I guess I would go with forging swords.
And you don't like gloves?
For which scenario, though?
For both. Wood? Well, you need them for both, but I mean, would the gloves stop you from getting the splinters?
I know, that's where I don't know. I don't know, maybe.
But people who carve wood, they like to go barehanded, I think. I'm just taking a guess. But for swords, you need a glove. People,
yeah. I think I would, I would do the swords, and I think I would wear
just to avoid the splinters, even though it's less dangerous?
I know, I guess. Okay. I have a thing with splinters, yeah.
Wow. For me, of course, it's the forged swords, because I mentioned that on previous episodes, that's another kind of hobby that I would pick up, actually. So yeah. I think that this one's too easy for me. Carving wood, it's interesting. I don't know.
I mean, it could be quite beautiful, because you could, like, Jacob
make
from Twilight, he used to carve beautiful wooden things for Bella and Bella in Twilight. Shout out to all my Twilight fans listening.
But what did Bella use it for? For scarecrows, or what did she use
it? So
she
wore it on her wrist.
Oh, wow. So it wouldn't scare off any birds.
He carved her a werewolf. He carved her for her birthday, and then Edward gave her a diamond. And I have an actual replica neck bracelet, too, that you laugh at.
It seems dangerous, though, too. I mean, I know the swords are dangerous as well, but because when you carve in the wood, there's one point you're going to hold it in your hand and have a knife, so.
No.
You know, it's got a...
I mean, both seem really shocking and scary.
At least with the swords, it's just the flames that can catch it. And then the sword at the end will be sharp, but... Yep. with the wood carving, you're holding a knife in your hand and you're like shaving it down. It seems
scary. The whole thing seems
at some point. I don't know. The carving wood. I mean, it just seems like you're going to cut your hands up even more. Yep. So that's the thing with that. I'd rather do something that has a benefit in the end.
That's the way you went with it. Gotcha.
Exactly. And then you could probably tell people, is there a benefit to sleeping naked?
Nice and sloppy. Yep. So as shared on Casper.com, there's an article around what are the 8 benefits of sleeping naked. And I thought you would enjoy these 8. So first is fall asleep faster and sleep deeper. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Decrease stress and stabilize your mood. That's interesting. Increase self-esteem and confidence. I feel like that depends on the naked body that you're speaking of.
Eventually, but if you did it for 10 years, you have to.
Probably, I guess, yeah.
There's no choice.
And like long term, yeah.
And where you can go but up.
This fascinated me. Prevent weight gain and boost metabolism. That makes fascinating. Sense. Maintain healthy skin.
Yep.
Support female reproductive health.
Wow, I didn't know that one.
Protect male fertility.
Everybody knows that. Really, that's easy because the problem is if you get
too hot down there.
Yeah, you get too much heat, you lower the count.
Yep. And then lastly, boost intimacy with your partner, which I think would be expected as a reason.
Oh, is that expected? I didn't know that. That's a good one.
I think that if it's one thing to be with your partner, it's quite another to like see them naked, right? I feel like automatically you probably would just have more sexy time. Just
really? That's crazy to say that.
You don't think if your partner, if you're physically attracted to this person sleeping next to you and they're naked all the time, that you're not going to get it on more?
No, not necessarily, because if it's just a normal thing, that's just how you sleep.
You're talking about in theory, not for yourself, right? Because we know how you behave.
You're so funny. You are a character.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
That's great. That's all I can say.
Okay.
And I can tell you that website Healthline, they had some additional benefits. And they also listed a lot of benefits that you mentioned as well. But they said you can get better sleep quality. So that's always a plus.
Interesting. Okay.
You can reduce stress and anxiety. So that's pretty great. That's
interesting. Okay.
You actually lower your risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
Now that's fascinating.
That's somehow that happens. And you boost self-esteem.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, that's one. And another thing they mentioned is that you improve your relationship. One study discovered that skin-to-skin contact between adults, it stimulates the release of oxytocin, which plays an important role in building attachment between partners. So I guess that's how that can improve your relationship. So you're releasing those chemicals into the air. No, not necessarily that. And you're improving the relationship. So your bond is stronger. Therefore, the universe is better as a whole. The universe needs it because it likes when people are bonded together. It likes when all the creatures of the universe bond well.
Is that all that you had to say on that?
This is my additional things that I'm adding. Okay. But the one thing I will say too, besides helping the universe out, is you actually can stay cooler.
Real wide. Helping the universe out.
Yeah, no, because guess what? Because you're boosting your relationship with your partner, and I think
which is somehow giving stars to the universe.
Yeah, because if your relationship is boosted, maybe less energy is wasted, which makes the universe happy, possibly.
And it smiles back at you with rainbows.
Yeah, it says thanks for doing that as I'm expanding. But also remember the big benefit. Yeah. You can be cooler at night. Because you don't have clothes on, they make you so hot and bothered. You know how people say hot and bothered? That's because they sleep with clothes on.
I think people are just hot and bothered because they're hot and bothered. I don't know how much clothes play a role in that.
If they sleep nude, then they would be cool. So that's good to know.
Okay.
Do you think there are any downsides to sleeping naked?
Plenty.
Oh, wow. Plenty? I can't even know.
Well, so an article on Men's Health shared the following. The average person passes gas.
See, I knew you wouldn't be able to say that without cracking up because you don't make sense.
15 to 25 times a day.
All right.
This could happen while you're sleeping.
Cutting the wind.
And a scientific video proved that every time you pass gas, you are spraying a tiny amount of fecal matter.
Why you need a video to know that? I mean, that's obvious. What is the smells from?
And this is true even if it's not a real shart.
Wait. You added that in, right?
No, that's in the article. That's in the article. I'm not that clever.
I don't know but there's so many questions. What is a real shart compared to a fake shart?
And that same study showed that your tiny whities will catch all of these particles. So for the sake of your bed partner, please sleep with your underwear on.
You are now listening to
WokeNFree.
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 a podcast that keeps it real and honest.
That is in the article.
Your tighty whities, though, see, so you gotta wear them tight whities. What if you wear them loose ones?
So, so there's that. So if,
there's that.
If you sleep naked, you expose you and your partner and the universe to more fecal matter in the air, which is something to think about.
Even if you make a fake shark.
Even if you make a fake chart. And I personally would add the lack of control, for those who are listening who can agree with the fact if they are voluptuous women like me, you lose control of where your bams and your booms and your la-las are, and it
that
can
feels
be
good.
Well, if you
freeing.
had big breasts, maybe you would think different.
It feels like freeing, I think.
You can't tell me what I feel.
No, I'm not telling you. I'm just saying in general. I'm not speaking for you. I'm just speaking for...
Well, I'm telling you, when I have lack of control over my assets, I don't feel freeing.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I'm in more danger.
You don't feel like you can take over the world kind of thing?
Nope. And so there's that. And then also just hygiene concerns outside of your sharding situation. There's, for folks who have, obviously front genitalia as well.
I know some people have sideways ones, so you gotta tell them you're sideways. You're good though. You're good.
So there's things to wonder about, like if you're, kind of air or fluids are releasing from that part of your body. That if there's no clothing like underwear, there's nothing to catch or to prevent the emission of that onto your bed and or your partner. So that just seems, like a hygiene concern. And so then also another downside of sleeping naked, I would argue, is surprise visitors. We've been in that situation where sometimes people just want to stroll up in your bedroom. Hi there. Good morning. Are you awake? And if you happen to be naked because you happen to be sleeping naked, people also just might be like, they may feel uncomfortable because maybe your sheet came off. I know sometimes the sheet comes off of me, not sometimes, all the time, comes off of me when I'm sleeping. If you're sleeping and you're naked and there's no sheet, then it's a full Monty show.
Then you feel literally free.
Yeah, but I wonder how free the visitors in your room feel. So
visitors should not just pop up in your room, or else you're having some sort of problem.
Well, there's a different type of sleeping situation.
Yeah, they can't just pop up in your room and just stand there waiting for you to
like
your
Michael
sheet to come
Myers,
out.
right?
Yeah, just waiting there watching. That's different.
So those are my concerns. What concerns do you have, if any?
If any, there's some good concerns that you haven't, I don't think you brought up.
Okay.
The first you didn't bring up, you could actually get a cold.
I agree.
You could just feel like really chills and your immune system could drop. So that can make you feel some chills down your spine. So that's a problem. The second thing is, what if you got to do something outside your house? You're actually going to be delayed because you got to get some clothes. Like if you had to take the trash out and you forgot. Good point. So it's like, here we go.
Yep.
I got to put my clothes on, then I can go outside, then I got to come back in, take my clothes off, then I can get to bed. So it adds an extra step. The next thing is you can get rug burn on your privates from the blankets. Because what the blankets rub your privates too much.
That's really a wild suggestion.
It's possible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can, and it can be red.
This is
why is it red?
Eh?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about what can happen. This is all about what could happen. So it's a contemplation for people to think about.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then you kind of brought it up, but I wouldn't say surprise visitors, but if there's other people in your house just in general, it makes it a challenge because what if you want to go get a drink of milk at the ring of midnight and, you've got other people in the house? You're going to have to put your clothes on again just to leave the room.
One would hope.
You're not going to chance it and say, I might, expose myself and traumatize them for the rest of their life. You're not going to do that. Or you shouldn't.
Oh, dear.
So those are some problems that can come up.
I'm glad that you were able to acknowledge them, because I thought you were going to be like, none, this is pure
That's
heat.
impossible. There's things that it changes things.
Okay.
You got to acknowledge that.
I'm glad. So now, what would you say are some best practices then for those listening who are interested in sleeping naked and or continuing and would like to know some best practices to think about?
That's very easy for best practices when sleeping naked. You can't have guests over. The first thing.
Unless it's a different situation in your household, yeah.
I don't
Remember,
call
people have different situations.
I call those what are those, acquaintances with benefits is what I call that.
Or they could be partners, multiple partners. I'm talking about people with
an
multiple
acquaintance
partners.
with benefits. That's a multiple
you
partner.
You wouldn't call a partner an acquaintance?
Oh, okay, but then they're not a guest either, right? They're a partner then.
Well, they may not live in that home. They might be
but
a
they're
partner,
still a partner.
But they just live
That's not
elsewhere.
a guest. Oh, you calling them a guest just because they're visiting?
Yeah.
They're still a partner. Just because that's the thing. It's kind of like when you go visit. So when you're younger and you have your boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever.
You said when you're young.
Yeah, you don't say, all right, I'm having a guest over. You never would say that. You'd say, my girlfriend's coming over. See, it's like that.
Depends on who you're speaking to.
Nobody would call a significant other a guest. I mean, you can, but that's weird.
Okay, what
like,
else?
this is specifically guest. And the second thing is to have a blanket handy. You gotta make sure you shouldn't just be out there and there's no blankets on the bed. Then and when I say blanket, it could be the comforter too. That counts. It just has to be some sort of covering.
Yep.
You need to have a covering nearby.
Okay.
It's good to have that. Third thing is that children, they can be really young or if they're older, they need to be out of the house. That's another thing. Because otherwise, this is a risk that you take. That they can bust into your room and then they could be traumatized.
Jesus.
And then the next thing is a good one is that you should actually have clothing nearby so that you can get dressed.
Yeah.
Don't have it all packed away and you're like, oh no, where's my clothes? So have your clothes somewhere nearby. And then a thing to think about is you probably should keep the temperature higher than you're accustomed to when you usually wear clothes.
That makes me really nervous, that statement. Because then I imagine that you're going to start to sweat and then things are going to stink.
No, I'm saying don't make it so cold that you freeze and you want your clothes again. That's what I'm saying. Not like crazy higher, but just enough where you're not going to like freeze your your genitals off.
Smart. Okay.
Because if you do that, then you failed, right?
Okay. Fair enough. So on wikihow.com they shared some tips that were interesting about, if you wanted to get started sleeping naked, what you could do. So first, you would start just by sleeping in your underwear if you aren't already doing that. That way you can get used to the idea of having less clothing on, because some people sleep with like a nightgown on or shirt and shorts. So kind of get down to your undies. And then if you are ready to sleep naked, then do it under breathable fabrics. I thought that was a really helpful tip. Make sure that the fabrics on and the material on the bed that you're sleeping on isn't going to make you sweat or be, hold microbes and things like that.
Really?
You should adjust your sheets and covers by the season. I thought that was also super helpful.
Interesting.
That way the material matches the season, right? What we want in winter is very different than what we want in summer and spring. So very, very cool. Then also, I thought this was super helpful. Consider bathing before bed. Literally scrubbing the dirt. You gotta be nice and clean. Yes. Scrubbing the filth off your body.
That won't help if you make all these sharts.
Well, you're still probably going to do the sharp, but maybe there's a little bit less materials that come out. I'm not quite sure there.
Materials? Okay, I don't know what's coming out of certain people, but you could talk to the doctor about that.
This, they also suggested something you just said, which is keep a robe right next to your bed.
Yeah, definitely.
That way,
some sort of clothing.
God forbid you need clothing immediately. You have something there. And then I also would personally add to this consideration of if you're wanting to do this, give yourself grace as if you haven't done it, like, I've done this in randomly, but we don't have a practice of it in our household, for instance. And so if you're going to try to make this an ongoing transition and a transition into this practice for yourself, give yourself grace. It might take you a little bit longer than you might expect. And especially if it's brand new for you, make sure, you take a bath before bedtime, that you kind of lean into clean.
Take a bath now.
I think so, if you
Not
can,
even just
or
a shower.
It's whatever you want. I like baths if they're like, if you A, have a clean tub, and B, it's more relaxing, get you in a good mood to kind of get into bed. And know that you look beautiful and good with or without your clothes. And I know that sometimes can be hard to know or even feel, but this practice, I feel like, to some of the points that were mentioned earlier in the episode, that it would help you start to look at your body and get more comfortable with your body, which a lot of people have a lot of issues, body dysmorphia, things that they're just not good in their skin. And one thing I would say is I feel like this practice makes you confront some of your body image issues, and you have to look at yourself and you have to be in it to win it. So, have fun, y'all.
Yeah. Now you bring up an important point. What if people only feel comfortable without clothes on? Then that's a problem.
They only feel naked? You're good when they're naked?
Yeah, they like how they look, but only when they're naked. When they put clothes on, they hate themselves.
So then this practice would really be helpful for them, then, being naked.
It would, but then going out into the world, they can't go get groceries.
Well, thankfully,
because they may be arrested.
Correct, but they may consider living options that allow. There are certain areas of the world where more nudity or more exposure is welcome, so they may have to look into that.
They
type
can
of
go to
lifestyle.
a country where there's no law about public nudity and exposure.
I'm not sure if that exists, but I know that there are more lenient spaces, sometimes maybe outside of the United States, that allow for folks.
There's a lot of nude beaches outside the United States. I mean, the United States, the U.S. has some.
They may have some, yeah.
We have some, but there's a lot of places.
I feel like internationally. How the American society is
how we see nudity is
Puritan,
a lot different.
and we have Puritan roots here, and so it's more naturally more conservative,
more censored,
and yes, more censored. So just consider that. But I think that at the end of the day, there's I think negatives that can come with this, but overall, it seems like there are some interesting positives that surprised me when doing the research.
Wow, that surprised you.
Oh yeah, but the negative sharding situation definitely knew that was coming up.
All right. I mean, I learned a new thing that I didn't even know. I didn't know there was a fake shart and a real shart. I didn't know that. So I learned that. The point is that you're saying that if you're farting, even if you're not sharting, that fecal matter can escape. That was the point that was mentioned. That's the point. So it's not that, because it's kind of implies, is a fart a fake shart? I mean, I don't think that is. I don't want to.
Essentially.
I couldn't agree with that.
It's not a fake shart, but it is in the sense that there's not actual like a poop coming out, but there's still fecal matter coming out. That's the distinction. Versus a shart is you've actually expelled something.
Because the shart is supposed to be the mix of the releasing of the gas
and the poop.
And what
the article was saying is that even when you're farting, that there's still fecal matter you just can't see it.
But are they implying that fart is a fake shart, or is that just?
I think you took that interpretation as that.
Oh, because that just blows my mind. If there's a fake shart where you think like, oh, I might have. So
does it mean every time you're going to pass gas, you're going to say I'm doing a fake shart?
Well, you got to contemplate it to say, did I fake shart or did I take a fart? You got to think about it a couple of times.
It just sounds like you're doing Shakespearean poetry in a really weird, theme.
But you got to take a step back from life and see, what did you really do?
Everything's a fake shart. How about them apples?
How does it impact the environment? Are you having a positive or a negative effect on it? That's what I'm asking you.
Probably negative, because it's CO2 being emitted from your body.
Not as bad as the cows with their methane.
Correct. Thank God. Yeah. Well, we don't have 5 stomachs, so.
Okay, that's the reason. Mm-hmm. Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Ramsey never has slept naked in his life. After being with his spouse for the past 3 years, he suggested they start sleeping together naked to enhance their intimacy. Should Ramsey's spouse agree and start sleeping naked with him?
Wow, that's a real deep one. I guess if Ramsey's wife is first concerned at why all of a sudden after 3 years now this is the suggestion, maybe get some insight from Ramsey as to why he's interested in doing this. And if it's not something nefarious or odd, then as interpreted by Ramsey's wife, then I would say, or spouse, I would say then as long as Ramsey's spouse doesn't feel like both of their gas passing at night isn't so egregious to the point where it would be, like a health risk or a health factor, then sure, why not?
That's funny. See, I don't think that's even come up about gas passing, because the spouse might not be concerned with that. They might love the fecal matter smell. You don't know about that. You're just taking a guess.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Ramsey's spouse doesn't have a concern about the amount of gas passed at night.
Would that be a consideration? I mean, you're saying that.
Yes.
No, I don't think it's consideration.
What if someone's farting every 5 minutes at night when they sleep? You do not want to sleep naked with this person.
You do, because you've been sleeping with them for this time forward.
But at least there's been clothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all.
Type of barrier.
All it does is mute the smells. It doesn't eliminate it. It does not like they have an air purifier.
What if you're doing
unless they do, I don't know.
What if the person feels like if they sleep naked, they're gonna just be puking all night because they're so disgusted?
All right, so I got a great answer for them. Get a big air purifier and run it on the max speed.
And they should wear a hazmat suit too, right?
No, you don't need. Then you're not sleeping naked.
But what if you're naked in the hazmat suit?
No, you don't have to do that. You can get a gas mask if you're so crazy.
There you go.
Wear your gas mask and sleep naked.
That's not odd at all.
It's not, and you can get some oxygen pumped into that.
And I'm not sure if you're supposed to sleep all night with that on. So,
you can sleep with that on. You can.
My overall recommendation is as long as the spouse feels like this is a recommendation that also they agree with in the intimacy and that there's no real health concern, then sure.
Oh, so now it's health concern, so not just the gas thing.
Yeah, there's a health concern.
Oh, because I was going to say, I would say the spouse should not even think about a gas concern. That should not even come up in the mind.
Fine, agree to disagree.
Oh, you think See, that's so messed up. For you, the spouse needs to consider
I
this
think
gas
you should
passing.
always be thinking about health concerns.
All right, say so.
And everything in life.
Now the WokeNFree listeners see that you're so concerned about this gas passing thing. That's such a thing to you. To me, it's not, but
did you not hear that fecal matter is passing every time you pass gas?
How many people have died from fecal matter exposure?
I'm getting nauseous talking about this. Like, this is so disgusting.
Does that need to be an episode? I mean, come on.
Passing gas?
Yes, how many people has that eliminated? I mean, have taken out. I mean, have passed away from it. I mean, passed the gas and put them to pasture.
What's your answer to Ramsey's situation?
I'm sure that the fecal matter hasn't destroyed anyone.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm leaving that. Okay. So this one's easy to me. The spouse would say, yeah, of course I'll do it. As long as they don't have anything against it. If they just said, hey, you want to try that? And they don't even have to ask if there's any benefits. They just say, hey, let's just do that. That's okay with me. He doesn't have to even explain it. That's just go ahead and do it.
Well, he should feel free to explain it if his wife or spouse.
The spouse can ask, but the spouse doesn't even have to be like, "Why should we?" Don't do that. Just agree to sleep naked, and you'll see the benefits, and you'll have fun.
We live in a life where you're welcome to ask for more information.
You can ask the question, but I would say you shouldn't. But that's my response. Kind of like that's why my spouse asked me that. I'm not asking questions. I'm doing it as soon as possible. I'm listening.
If I asked you to just sleep naked and you wouldn't ask me why,
I wouldn't say why. I'd just say, all right, because I trust. If you trust your spouse enough, you should be able to give that to them and say, all right.
I wonder what else I could ask you that you outrightly just say yes to.
We can't ask something that's against their moral standings, of course. So if you do that,
sleeping in the buff is not.
Because that's not hurting nobody. Like, let's be honest,
including the health concerns. Excellent.
It's not. We're not cows. If we were cows, then you better have a concern. Scenario 2: Marif lives with 5 roommates who share one bathroom. She would like to sleep naked, but gets up in the middle of night to use the bathroom. Is it possible for her to sleep naked in her current living conditions?
Interesting question. Yeah, so I would say she is able to sleep naked still, but what she should do is take up one of our best practice and have a robe next to her bed. So when she wants to go up to the bathroom in the middle of the night, she doesn't, to your point, have to traumatize anyone, and she can just put her robe on, as long as it covers all the appropriate spots of her body.
So no, like, Arizona robes.
I don't know what that is.
Like robes that are really short. And expose your cheeks.
Okay. Yeah, so she should probably get one that goes down to past her knees.
Okay. That's a good way to put it.
Wraps around her body.
There are small robes.
Yeah. Fully wraps around her body. And she can use the bathroom as she sees fit, as well as going and sleeping in her favorite state.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Just get a robe and you can sleep naked and nobody has to worry about being surprised that night, so... And you don't know if these roommates try to put up hidden cameras and stuff and do things that are crazy. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, just, that's probably the better way to go because there's some crazy people out there. So, just make sure. Scenario 3. Philip has slept naked next to his partner since they became intimate 6 months ago. The problem is he is not comfortable sleeping like this, but doesn't want to upset his partner. Should he tell his partner how he feels or just keep sleeping naked since he assumes his partner likes it?
So that's a really interesting question, and it brings up the point of how much are we communicating in the relationships that we're in, and, you know, personally and intimate relationships in specific. And I would argue that if something's making you uncomfortable, even if you've been doing it for a long time or a significant amount of time, there's no point in your life or in the tenure of that relationship where you should never feel free to raise your hand and say, hey, I have an issue with this, or I'd like to talk about this. And so Philip is, I think, making an assumption that just because he has been sleeping naked, that his partner probably likes it. But if he's never verified that, then that would be the time to have the conversation. Because to his surprise, his partner might be like, actually, I think it's pretty gross because you fart on the hour.
That's
so I would love for you to wear undies. Thank you. And that's one scenario. Another scenario could be, yeah, you're sleeping naked and your genitalia keeps hitting me and it wakes me up, you know, because some people are, you know, have a different level of, you know, fabulousness when it comes to their body. So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons, but Philip should raise the question with his partner, and he might be surprised that his partner might actually agree. Yeah, put on those underwear. You got to do you, and you got to be comfortable.
Yeah, I'll add another thing that you got to think about is what if the partner does all the cleaning and the partner doesn't like cleaning up the sludge?
God.
What? I just said that. You don't know what it's made of, though.
On the bed?
Yeah, what if there's stuff that the partner has to clean up on the bed?
Because he's Philip sleeping naked?
Because of both of them.
No.
What if they stain the sheets? I don't know.
Oh,
it's just something
you really
to think
want
about.
Me to puke, huh?
No, you don't have to puke. It could be good stuff. It could be made up of, like, unicorns.
Please, stop.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna make it magical for you, though. Of course, you want to go to the other kind of stuff that it could be made of.
Oh, God. So you agree Philip should raise the question, then?
Oh, yeah, it's need to be raised. But I forgot what it's called, but there's another thing this is called when you just make an assumption that somebody feels that what you guys are doing right, and actually you both agree you don't want to do it, and you're doing something that no one wants to do. So there's like a term for that when people do that. It's like, yeah, that person wants to do it. And they're like, oh no, that person wants to do it. But actually, nobody wants to do it.
Group thought or like
no, it's something,
group bias or something?
There's a very specific term for it. I forgot about it, but it's where no one asks the question to actually find out how people feel. Yeah, everybody assumes that the other person wants to do something, and all the assumptions are wrong.
Following like lambs all following.
But it's not even that, because it's kind of, there's nobody even made that decision. They just assume that somebody else made it.
That's weird.
So that's why you always got to ask, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Is this something we actually want to do? Because otherwise you end up doing stuff you don't want to do. So definitely ask. It doesn't matter.
It's horrifying.
No one will get hurt.
Thank God we're at this time again.
Really?
Coming to the end
you couldn't
of
take
our
it.
268th episode of WokeNFree. Weirdo. This was quite the episode asking the question, is there a benefit to sleeping naked? Glo, what do folks need to do now?
Come back next week for the new WokeNFree Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation. And make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
And please know that he doesn't always speak that way. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, we would love to hear your thoughts for 2023 programming. Best way to reach us is on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. On social, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn at WokenFree. And for all sponsorship or collaboration ideas, again, hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokenFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokenFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.